What's up Evercade fans, Games Apprentice back with another Evercade video, and this week I'm looking at the Sunsoft Collection 2. What happened to the Collection 1? I'll probably get to it. If you saw my Duke Nukem Collection review, you'll know that I said I was excited to get back into Evercade, and then this is the first Evercade review I've done since then. Don't get me wrong, I am still excited, but it takes a while to review them, and that's why they're taking so long. Plus, I wanted to do my sweet top 20 video. However, there's plenty more coming, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel as that content flows through the pipes of life. Sometimes you've just got to go with your brain. Now, like a lot of people, I've got fond memories of Sunsoft, and I have no idea why. I had a look through the games on the Collection 1 and the Collection 2, and I didn't really recognise any of them. After looking into it, I guess like a lot of people, the Sunsoft games that I enjoyed as a kid were all licensed, mainly Warner Brothers stuff, so you're probably never actually going to see those on the Evercade. But got these instead. No Tiny Toons though. On the plus side though, that means I've never played any of these games, they're all new to me. There are 7 games on this one, here they are ranked from worst to best. Coming in deservedly last on this list is a Japanese Game Boy title, Pry PR Primitive Princess. And the word primitive really does fit this game, as there's not much to it. It's basically an arcade puzzle platformer in the vein of something like Burger Time, where it's all set on one screen and you need to climb ladders. I know I said Burger Time like, oh, Burger Time's awesome. Anyway, where you need to climb ladders and knock blocks to fill a path whilst avoiding enemies. I always find games like this just don't hold up unless there's something very special, and this isn't that at all. It's about as exciting as it looks. There's really not much to say about it. You'll know just looking at this video if this game is for you. It certainly isn't for me. I was actually really looking forward to playing this one. I keep almost making a best games to play at Christmas video, and I've seen this one crop up several times on Emulation Station, but never given it a try, so it was nice to finally have a reason to do so. When I say looking forward, I wasn't expecting it to be good, I expected it to be hilariously awful. I've definitely played worse platformers though, and it was definitely more fun than I thought it was going to be. Don't get me wrong, it's not good, it feels pretty mindless, there are presents all over the place that are filled with disappointment. You'll have had enough of it pretty quickly, and when you're done, you won't want to see it again for at least a year. So in short, it sums up Christmas perfectly. The highlight is turning into Evil Santa, obviously. Good fighting games are hard to come by on the Evercade outside of the Capcom collection, but for most people, that collection doesn't exist. And you can't play it 2-player, so Evercade Versus owners have to get the kicks in where they can. See what I did there? On any other system, you probably wouldn't give Galaxy Fight the time of day. It's fairly generic, bog standard fighter. However, on the Evercade, the only one I can remember playing off the top of my head is Clay Fighter and Weapon Lord. Come on, Eternal Champions, where you at? In a world with so few options, a Galaxy Fight at this moment in time becomes a pretty solid option on the Evercade. With a range of characters to mess around with, a nice bit of pace about it, and fairly responsive controls, it's alright. Will you remember any of its cast of characters or anything about it a year from now? Absolutely not. In the 90s, the mascot platformer seemed to be its own subgenre. The success of a hedgehog led to bobcats, possums, earthworms, dolphins, and a host of other animals. And I guess one of those animals was a squirrel. Apparently it's the rival of the more famous, but still not that famous, Aero the Acrobat, which I'd never played, but I guess it had appealing box art and was always on the first page of any ROM list. They should have called it Aaron the Acrobat, and then I definitely would have played it. Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel is a platformer where you've got a double jump, a ground pound, and you can throw projectiles. It's definitely got some Sonic vibes with its speed. Not that it's anywhere near as fast, but you could definitely have a good speed run on it. It's a pretty fun platformer, to be honest. The main issues with it are the double jump mechanic isn't great. It's a bit like Super Metroid where you've got to jump at the height of your jump. The problem with this is that you can't always see what's coming up, so you don't know you need to double jump until it's too late to execute it. So you've basically got to always double jump on the off chance that you need to double jump. The other issue is that it's a bit linear and doesn't seem to be particularly creative or memorable. It's still decent though. The first game in the series is reviewed in my Sunsoft Collection 1 review, which at the time of recording I don't even own, but if it pops up in the corner right now, then it's the future and I've remembered to add a link. I feel like there's such a low chance of me remembering to do that, but just in case I do, it's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm playing these games out of order, so I'm going to struggle to follow the no doubt complex story of Aero the Acrobat. This one definitely feels more polished than the previous game on the list, and like that previous game, it relies on a character with a unique mechanic to hook you. This one works a lot better though. You've got like a spinning drill jump attack. It's a fun little manoeuvre that used in marginally creative ways, and the controls just feel a lot tighter to boot. It's a decent looking game with the levels that feel slightly less generic than Zero. Between the colour palette, the mechanics and the theme in general, I can understand why this franchise managed a sequel. It's definitely one of the best character platforms I've played on the Evercade, and probably only eclipsed by Sonic, Sparkster and Rolo in terms of 16-bit ones in general. That's a Rolo to the rescue, if you don't know your elephants. The number 2 and 3 spots I've swapped around numerous times in my head, but because its genre is a bit more unique to this car and it's underrepresented on the Evercade in general, I settled on putting Euphoria in the number 2 spot. Euphoria is more or less a Metroidvania game, and it's perhaps the best Metroidvania game on the NES, which feels a little ironic considering Metroid and Castlevania were both born on the NES, but Castlevania was just an action platformer, and Metroid hadn't really reached its peak yet. Insert angry pro Metroid 1 comments in the comment section. There's a lot to like about Euphoria. The art style and music both feel extremely NES. They just both encompass all the good feelings I have about the console and really get that nostalgia furnace burning. Copyright Games Apprentice. You move about the levels figuring out which way you need to go, eventually get into a boss. Once you beat the boss you unlock a character to switch between that has a different set of skills. If you're a fan of platformers, the NES and Metroidvanias, don't skip this one. My number 1 game on this list, an Evercade Gem of the Week, goes to Blaster Master Enemy Below. Whilst I've never played any of the original Blaster Master games, I really enjoyed the reboot Blaster Master Zero back around the launch of Nintendo Switch, or maybe Master Blaster Zero, whatever. The original Blaster Master came out on the NES in 1988, and from what I've played of this one and the Switch one, I'd be very surprised if that doesn't top my Sunset Collection 1 list. This particular sequel came out of the Game Boy Color back in 2000. If you're unfamiliar with the series, it's a platformer where you control a little jumping tank thing, initially anyway. What makes it stand out is that at any point you can also exit the tank and go on foot. You still have a gun, but you don't have one that's as good. You can, however, go into places that your tank can't access, including places that's more or less a top-down shooting game. To add more depth to the game, all the stages are interlinking and you can get various upgrades for your tank as it goes on, aka it's another Metroidvania title. If you're a fan of the genre, it's worth checking out, and even if you're not, the different gameplay styles within this one certainly stop it from getting boring. This is a great game, and if you haven't already seen my top 20 Evercade games list, you might find this one on there. Check it out. And, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get the negatives out of the way on this one first. There are only 7 games, which isn't a huge amount, especially if you don't like platform games. All you're going to be left with is a fighting game. However, if you like me and platform games are totally your jam, then there's a lot to like about this cart, and whilst 6 platform games might seem like a lack of variety, they're all quite different. Even the 2 from the same franchise feel different. It's just such a versatile genre. And whilst a couple of them aren't exactly good, the top 3 really do offer some quality. Honestly, this is a pretty solid cart. I'm always a sucker for a Metroidvania, and this cart offers 2. dust. Now, I've been umming and ahhing with the score for this one. I don't think I've given a bang on 8 out of 10. I think, for me personally, this would be 8 out of 10. However, I know not everyone's as big a fan of platformers as me, so because of the lack of variety, I'm going to give this one a very high 7.5 out of 10. Or, 8 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. As always, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the collection, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of my content and to help support the channel. Hopefully, I'll catch you next time.